is a tutorial on how to flip a double-edged balisong. A lot of people don't think that you could actually flip with a double-edged balisong, being that there is really no safe handle. No matter which way the blade closes, whatever's between the handle and the blade is going to get cut. Contrary to a standard balisong, which only has one edge, one side of the blade is dull, so if you're holding a safe handle, no matter how it hits, you won't get cut. Now, the basic thing to flipping a double-edged balisong is controlling the momentum of the blade, and you actually see this principle applied during hand transfers on a regular balisong. When you do a hand transfer, the hand that gets the bite handle has to grab it and then come down before you transfer back to the original hand. And the way to avoid getting cut during a transfer is you switch over, and when you're coming down, you're kind of coming down and with the blade, right, before you come back up, in order to avoid getting cut. So it's the same principle with the double edge. You have to move with the momentum of the blade and the handle to either not make contact with the edge, or to minimize, the amount of pressure that goes on your finger if your finger does make contact with it. So for example, on your standard opening with a regular balisong, it would look like that. It just bounced off your finger. Now, with a double edge, you obviously can't let it bounce off your finger, so it looks the same, but if you notice, I have a little extra motion with the knife to absorb the edge going into my finger. Alright, when you actually flip a double edge, if you see in my demonstrations later, it's going to look like it touches my finger lightly, and it actually does in some cases, but even with a very sharp edge, both of these are pretty sharp. I just sharpened this one, and the Mayhem comes very sharp. You can put your finger on there, apply quite a bit of pressure, but what ends up cutting you is if it comes down fast and it strikes your finger, it'll cut you, or if it touches you and it has a sweeping motion, that's usually what ends up cutting you. So if it makes light contact but you've absorbed it enough, it usually won't cut you for the most part. I flipped a lot with this, and I did get cut a few times when I made mistakes, but for the most part, light contact, I didn't get cut. Now, in terms of how to just freestyle and flip normally, you can do quite a bit with the double edge, as long as, again, you're controlling the momentum. And really, for moves such as your standard thumb rollovers like the Y2K, finger twirl, the Zen, those moves, the sharp edge of the blade, or any side of the edge of the blade, if you're doing it cleanly, really doesn't touch you to begin with anyway. Maybe except for the Y2K, you have to absorb it a little bit before you come up. But those moves, like the orbit and whatever, they don't touch your finger anyway, so you can actually freestyle pretty well with a double-edged balisong, even without the chaplain and the zero gravity and other moves like that. Now, in terms of the twirl, I didn't think that was going to be possible with a double edge, but it actually can be done. It's the same principle. When you're twirling, again, you just have a little extra momentum, or I should say extra movement, to absorb the momentum when you're twirling, to minimize any type of contact with your fingers. So it looks a little bit more exaggerated when you're doing it. The same thing with scissoring. When you're scissoring and you catch the blade, you're catching it like this, right? And then you would just continue to go. It's just when you catch it and you come around, again, same motion. You're coming down before you continue with the rest of the move. So even scissoring and twirling, you can still do it. Again, it takes a lot of practice, and but eventually, if you learn how to control that motion, you can get it. Now for 8-balls and thumb rollovers, that's a little tricky, but with a little experimentation, I did find that it is possible. Basically, what you're doing when you're doing an 8-ball, okay, it's a roll over the index and then a roll over the thumb, right? So obviously you couldn't just put all the pressure of the blade on your index finger, otherwise you're going to get cut. Same with your thumb. So what I found is you have to direct that energy elsewhere. So when I throw an 8-ball with a double edge, all right, what I'm doing is I'm giving it almost a little push in the air, so that it's, in a way, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's in a way it's kind of floating around my finger. And then when I catch it here and I go for the roll over my thumb, again, I'm giving it another push in the air, so it goes around my finger, but it's kind of in the air, so the energy is absorbed almost as like an aerial. That's kind of the best way I can describe it. So I would go like this and then give it a little push up and then continue to move. So that's how you actually do the thumb rollover and the index rollover with an 8-ball. So that's basically the key to doing a double-edged Balisong. Is just it's all momentum control with a little bit of practice. It can be done. I don't recommend it for anybody who's just learning. If you don't have all the basic moves of a Balisong down, like second nature, like the twirl, helix, scissor, even scissoring, all these things, if you don't have it in your repertoire of moves, where you can pretty much do it automatically, with your eyes closed, I would not recommend going forward with a double-edged Balisong. You have to really know all your moves proficiently and really understand how to control the momentum of the Balisong before moving on to a double edge. So, it is a lot of fun and everything, but I don't want, someone just starting out to get this and try to master a double edge before they master a single edge. That's just my opinion anyway. So I hope everyone learned something, and hopefully, you can practice a bit and then eventually get flipping a double edge. It's a lot of fun, and hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Thanks for watching.